one of the most important subject matters that was not really clear until this revelation, this latest revelation, this latest dispensation, by the manifestation himself, is the issue or the matter of the return. Return, when it's not correctly understood, may be thought of the actual return. For example, the time of the end, the time when, let's say, in the Islamic dispensation, it's referred to as when the dead will rise out of their graves. Obviously, these are metaphors. Metaphors for what? Definitely, it cannot be taken literally. And why is that? Why can't we say that, well, God is the Almighty, the most potent? Why can't it create the same human beings again? That's including the physical bodies. Actually, probably the most important thing is if we focus on the human physical body and then put that back into the context of the day of judgment, when these bodies that are dead, that was long dead, will all walk out of their graves to be judged in front of God. There is a fundamental problem here, and that is that based on the principle that religion has to concur, I should say, with reason and science. Reason and science. For one thing, the creativity of God, that means the Creator, has infinite range. That means the power of creativity, the power of creation of God is infinite. The range of the created entities and phenomenal, or whatever you want to call that, in all stations of life, either a station of servitude or a station of the manifestations, and all the worlds of God, that is infinite in range and in numbers that no one can compute the numbers except God himself, because an infinite source can only encompass an infinite entity or creation. What's important here to understand is that God's creativity means that every time something is created, it is unique in itself. The oneness of God reflects in that creation. Oneness of God reflects in that creation. That means every time something is created, it reflects the unity of God. Unity of God, not uniformity. That's very important. we're distinguishing between unity and uniformity. Unity means the underlying principles, the causation, it's the same. Uniformity means incidental appearance is also exactly the same. So the reality is one and the same. It comes from the same source, which is the creator. Knowing there is only one creator, there's only one God. So the creation itself is unique because every time the creative power of God creates something, it's unique. But Abdul Baha mentions this. He says, in a silo of grain, not two single grains are exactly alike. They're very, very, very similar, but they're never exactly the same. That's the power of creativity. However, if you look at it and say, well, what about the other side of the issue, which is making something exactly the same as the one that was created before? What does that imply? It implies that we are not talking a creative source creating these exactly the same, but the source is a machine, a mechanism creates exactly the same thing, not the power of creativity. So an artist can paint two paintings, the same paintings, but they're not exactly the same. The creative power of the artist every time creates or paints a painting. It could be very, very similar if he wants to make another one which is the same as this one, but it's not exactly the same because the creative power creates, regenerates every time anew. Creation takes place anew every single time. A machine, however, has no creativity and it follows exact instructions. That's why they give you the exact replica and copy of one same thing. That's very important. So the whole idea that in the day of judgment, the physical bodies will rise and walk out of the graves exactly the same bodies as they were when they were alive long time ago is not only reasonable, it's not scientific, and because of that, it cannot be the truth. It is a figment of imagination. As Baha'u'llah says, that it's vain imaginings. Vain imaginings. Imaginings is good. You can imagine things. But vain imaginings, when that imagination is taken as truth, which is not. So, the subject of return in reality is correct. The reality of these things are in unity. They're one and the same. They're one and the same. But to interpret that and put it into and imply that the physical bodies, exact same atoms, exact cells will come back to this life again, it goes against the grain of and the meaning of creation, the power of creativity. It only stands correct when we are talking about talking about a mechanistic system or a machine. So if there's a very, very precise machine, what it can do, it gives you very, very exact products every time, exact duplicate of each other, but lacks any creativity whatsoever. Because creativity is not mechanistic, it's organic. So this is one way of looking at it. I just want to put that in, record it so we can refer back to it some other time.